I have to say, there's a spirit of generosity in the air today. Just learning about the generous hospitality of Room in the Inn, a day when we made a covenant with our teachers and volunteers in our religious education program, a promise to support and to trust these generous-hearted members as they nurture the spiritual lives of our children and youth. And today is also Grandparents' Day, a day to give thanks for the grandparents among us and for the gifts each of us has received from our own grandparents. Today, we're mindful of teachers and grandparents and of the generosity of all who share their gifts of time, compassion, and wisdom with us. I hold out to you that generosity may very well be the value that can save us in this perilous time in which we live. Put into practice through acts of sharing with one another, generosity is how we embody that great commandment to love our neighbors as we love ourselves. It is through generosity that we are interconnected in relationships of mutuality. Through generosity, we are awakened to the reality that we are all part of one human family, connected to each other and to the earth. Generosity is the embodiment of hope, as expressed in John Lennon's iconic song, Imagine, that one day the world will be as one. And generosity begins with gratitude. And there's an old hymn, speaking of grandparents, that my grandmother sang to me when I was a child. I can't remember the melody, but the lyrics are these: count your blessings, name them one by one. Count your blessings, see what God hath done. Count your blessings, name them one by one, and it will surprise you what the Lord hath done. Substitute whatever words you wish for God and Lord: life, the world, the universe, love. Substitute whatever words that make sense for you to describe that which is larger than yourself. And the sentiment still holds true. There are gifts that come to us from sources beyond ourselves when we stop and take stock of all that life has given us: the air we breathe, the sun that warms our faces, the rain which waters our crops, the moon and stars that shine at night. Gratitude is the natural response. Gratitude opens the way to generosity. There's another old song, this one written by Irving Berlin and made popular by Bing Crosby. Berlin wrote the song in response to his doctor's advice about how to reduce stress so he could sleep at night. When I'm worried and I can't sleep, I count my blessings instead of sheep, and I fall asleep counting my blessings. When my bankroll is getting small, I think of when I had none at all, and I fall asleep counting my blessings. I saw heads nodding and lyrics running in your heads and melodies. And both of these songs, that old Christian hymn that my grandmother sang and the old Bing Crosby classic, are a response to hardship and a sense of lack. Counting blessings, paying attention to what one has instead of what is lacked or missing, shifts the mind from an attitude of scarcity to an awareness of abundance. The poet Rainer Maria Rilke expresses this shift when he writes, "If I had grown in some more generous place, if my hours had opened in ease, I would make you a lavish banquet. My hands wouldn't clutch at you like this, so needy and tight. Then I'd have dared to squander you, you limitless now. I'd have tossed you into the ringing air like a ball that someone leaps and catches with hands outstretched. I would have painted you, not on the wall, but in one broad sweep across heaven. I'd have portrayed you brashly, as a mountain, as fire, as a wind howling from the desert's vastness." I wonder if the generous place Rilke refers to is his own mind and the ways it was closed and tight with thoughts of scarcity. Are here in Rilke's words a tone of regret at not living more generously and expansively. It is gratitude that opens the way to more generous and abundant living. Today, there's a whole science around gratitude and an industry. There's a proliferation of books and classes and workshops about the practice of gratitude. Seems we've forgotten how to do that. We need workshops. Today, we don't talk as much about counting blessings, but of making gratitude lists, naming the things that we are thankful for. And scientific studies tell us that grateful people report better health, more resilience, better communication, stronger relationships, and more happiness. Amy Campbell, who holds an MBA from Harvard and serves as a consultant to businesses and churches, gave a TED Talk titled, "Radical Generosity is a Way of Living, Not an Act of Giving." In it, she quotes scientific research that finds generous people are physically healthier, have greater empathy, suffer from lower rates of depression, and even live longer than those who don't practice generosity. That giving to others improves not only short-term happiness, but long-term well-being. Campbell also says something that I found surprising. She says that studies show that having plenty of money doesn't necessarily make a person more generous. She says the presence of money makes us act more self-sufficiently and as a result, less generous. In other words, somehow being self-sufficient and less dependent on the generosity of others somehow makes a person less generous. Maybe that generous place Rilke talks about isn't necessarily a place of wealth and abundant resources, but a place where generosity is a way of living. Church is a place where we come to practice living our values so that we can more ably carry them out into the world. Church is where we practice generosity as a way of living. In our world today, the word generosity is often equated with money and how much money we give. So not to worry, I'll just note that as I started talking about generosity, you all tensed up. I'm not going to ask you for money. I'm not here today to ask you for money. I am here to name the many other ways that there are of being generous. There's as many ways as those blessings that we counted. I'm here to name the ways of being generous beyond the voluntary gifts of financial and material goods that are needed to sustain a free church such as this one. So let me count and name the many ways of generosity that we practice here. Maybe one or more of these calls to you as a place where you can stretch and grow your own practice of generosity. So the first one, number one, is money. Number two, presence. Number three, time. Number four, attention. Number five, hospitality. Number six, compassion. Number seven, forgiveness. Number eight, faith. Number nine, hope. And number 10, love. So let's count these blessings and name them again, one by one. One is money. Again, I'm not here to ask you for money today, but to remind you that it is only the voluntary generosity of members and friends that keeps the free church free to set its own agenda, its own mission, its own vision, free to find its own beliefs. Two is presence. Your presence here matters. Whether you are here in person or online, other people are glad you are here. Are you glad your friends are here? You are here not only for your own satisfaction, you are here for others. To show up for others is to practice the generosity of presence. Three is time. In our fast-paced world today, time can feel like a precious commodity. But when we set aside the tasks that are on the to-do list, slowing down enough to truly be present with another person or a group of people, generously allowing the time that is needed for relationships to develop and connections to form. This is a gift that you give to yourself and to others. Four is attention. Life these days is full of distractions. At the last board meeting here at the church, we were all commenting that these days to arrive prepared for a board meeting means coming equipped with laptops and cell phones. And I'm told that the youth at our lock-in held last night began with a ritual of relinquishment, gathering their cell phones into a basket, which were put away for the duration. How many of us could survive that? With so many distractions available to us, it is a rare gift to focus our full attention on a person or a group of people. 5 is hospitality. One definition of hospitality is welcoming the stranger, making our church home a welcoming place for all who seek shelter from the storms of life. It is the generosity of an open welcome to those who are different than ourselves, warmly greeting people who come through our doors, be they physical doors or virtual doors. It is reaching out into the community across economic and racial divides, reaching out to those marginalized by sexual orientation or gender identity, reaching out to refugees and immigrants, to the unhoused, the incarcerated, and those fleeing violence. Welcoming the stranger and offering hospitality are ways of being generous. 6 is compassion. Being companions and being companioned through all the joys and tribulations of life, sharing openly about our triumphs and trials, our struggles and celebrations. Compassion is a deep well of generosity. 7 is forgiveness. Being the imperfect beings that we are, each of us will inevitably make mistakes and fail to live up to the best of who we are. Rather than holding on to resentment and grudges, we forgive ourselves and each other, and thus liberating ourselves and each other from burdens of guilt and shame. Generous with our forgiveness, we begin again in love. 8 is hope. Let's be honest here. Hope can be hard to find these days. You know as well as I the litany of bad news that we are confronted with on a daily basis. But we come here to buoy each other up, to lift each other's spirits, and to find hope in our shared vision and purpose of creating beloved community here and now. Being generous with hope lifts us all. 9 is faith. I believe that we all come here because Unitarian Universalism offers good news to a troubled world. We believe not in hell, but hope and an everlasting love that is available to all. We believe that we are called to love the hell out of the world. My friends, be generous with this faith, for it is what the world needs now. Which brings me to number 10, which is love. A love beyond belief, a love that is made visible by our work to bring more justice, more peace, and more joy into the world. Generosity begins with gratitude. Gratitude opens the way to generosity, and generosity transforms gratitude into action. So let us count our blessings and the many ways of being generous. In addition to voluntary gifts of financial and material goods, the many ways of generosity include a generous portion of time, an ample serving of attention, the lavish gift of hospitality, a hearty showing of presence, an overflowing cup of compassion, and the abundant offering of forgiveness. From this more generous place, we can willingly give from a bountiful harvest of hope, a bumper crop of faith, and a rich reservoir of love. May it be so, my friends. May it be so.